So we take a moment to recognize and deeply affirm right here and right now that this invisible, infinite, eternal presence is God. And this joy, this happiness, this exuberant goodness is everywhere surrounding each of us. So I know that this song, this message, our day together is divinely orchestrated and sustained and maintained by that one infinite mind, that one life that is God absolutely everywhere. We are so grateful today to open our hearts and receive this wisdom, this clarity, this peace, this happiness of embracing who we are right here and right now, fully with just complete abandon, knowing that we are perfect, we are whole, we are complete, and we each are the very embodiment of God. And by that we are so blessed, and together we affirm it by saying, and so it is. So our month again is about experience. And we're highlighting this book that is called, it's by Brené Brown, and it's called 25 Gifts of Imperfection. When you open the cover and you get into the introduction of the book, the first thing it says is, let go of who you think you are supposed to be and embrace who you are. So that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. Let go of who you think you are supposed to be and embrace who you are. How many people have felt like they've done that in their life or are doing that? Maybe you're doing it now, right? That there's an evolution to our lives, and it's always speaking to us. There's something spurring us on to the next phase of our beingness. And we get to look at things and ideas that may in the past may have scared us. We may have been fearful about, but now, 5 years later, we're ready to entertain that idea again. But it's all about our evolution. And last week we talked about William Penn, the founder of Pennsylvania. Is anybody familiar with William Penn? I can't help but share just a little bit about him.
You told me last week.
Yeah.
I can share it.
Well, William Penn was the founder of Pennsylvania, and he was originally from England, and he believed in religious freedom, which was a very odd concept back in 1644, as we discovered that last week. Religious freedom was not accepted. It was either you're this way or you could die for what you believed in. So William Penn went to jail many, many times in his fight or his plight for religious freedom to come about for all peoples. And finally he got to the point, and the King of England got to the point to say, what are we going to do with this guy? Because the King of England at that time had just converted to Catholicism. And that was their comfort zone. They didn't want anybody, that was the rule of their kingdom, was Catholicism. So William Penn said, what, I have an idea. I'd like to go to the Americas, and I'll create this community there. And the King of England went, we'll get him out of our hair. That's not a bad idea. So they sent him away. And I need to grab my notes here, but basically, William Penn was the founder of Pennsylvania, and he called his experiment the Holy Experiment. He believed within all of his heart that creating a world that worked for everyone was not only possible, but completely doable. He did not take no for an answer. And he put himself at risk time after time after time and time again. So that was kind of where we started off last week, or we spoke a bit about that last week. And the reason that I shared that is, of course, it's an Independence Day. And now we're at the other side of Independence Day. We've all celebrated our independence. But we talked about last week was, how can you claim Independence Day within your own life? How can you claim a new beginning, a new evolution, whatever it may be? So we talk about, I'm going to read you a quote from Charles Fillmore. Divine ideas must be incorporated into our consciousness before they can mean anything to us. An intellectual concept does not suffice, right? Our heart knows. Consciousness is knowing that God will supply. It means having a relationship with the one presence so powerful that all substance that is necessary flows right into the situation. It is not knowledge, but a complete surrender to God emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Some of us may call that surrender. Some of us may call that letting go. Some of it, I know that I've waved the white flag to God several times in my life and said, help me out here. I'm just clueless. I don't know what to do. But it's in that asking that something amazing happens. It's in that awareness of knowing that that Spirit God cannot be rationalized through the mind. It's to be felt through the heart. So we go back to that thing we talked about earlier, intuition and that deep knowing. You don't know why. You can't explain it to your friend why you're doing A, B, C, D, but you just know you have to do it. Or maybe you know something's already done. There's no question in your mind. Your heart knows. So the more that we cultivate that deep knowing as our everyday experience in life, the more we are awakened to the wisdom and the divine intelligence and the synchronicity and the synergy that's always been there, right? It's always been there, ever available. If we go back to this quote, it says, consciousness is knowing that God will supply. So how different does it feel when you think about your life and you think about, what was that? Letting go and embracing who you are. Let go of who you think you are supposed to be to embrace who you are. How does it feel when we embrace who we are, the idea of who we are, when we know that we're fully equipped? We can't fail. That we are propelled, that everything is synchronized within our life for that thing to happen. Every event, every phone call, every person, everything just flies up to meet you and says yes. Does that feel different as to opposed to let go of who you think you are and supposed to be and embrace who you are if you were in fear about it? And that's what separates people from living their dream or just thinking about their dream, right? Oh, well, yeah, I wanted to do that years ago, but, we kind of make excuses for, I was too young, I was too this, I was too that, I was blah, 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 blah. But when we re-look at that concept and see and recognize that God will supply, what in the world is stopping us from doing it, right? Would you change the course of your life? If you knew that one thing that you were passionate about, you could do it, would you change the course of your life if you knew you couldn't fail? Done deal. So we recognize in science of mind and religious science that simply by changing our beliefs, changing our thoughts, we can change our life experience. It's interesting. I have to share this story. I had the opportunity to spend some time with this holiday weekend with my in-laws. And they're in their late 70s. And I love sitting with them and listening to them because it's a different generation. They have so much wisdom to share and so much to share about things that I haven't experienced. I haven't experienced women who would meet weekly and play cards, play bridge, right? They'd play bridge, they'd have lunch, they'd go on walks. They were such a tight-knit generation, you know, and I reflected back on, you know, like World War II when women had to go to work. It changed the whole path of evolution for so many people. So it was interesting. We live in a condo that has, or a building that has 6 condos in it, which means we have to have a property owners association. So we have this big meeting every year. And somebody asked the question, well, how are we going to paint the building? And my mother-in-law spouted up and she goes, well, how we used to paint the building was all the ladies made lunch, we went and bought paint, and we painted it. Do you know that that concept at that meeting was completely not accepted? Let's just say that the people at the meeting did not jump up and down about that idea. Wow. Wow, that blew my mind. The community, the things, the joy that you would have having lunch. I mean, they're your neighbors. I mean, they're hundreds of feet. Now this is a lake area, so they have a house in town. Most of the people that live there have a house in town and a house at the lake. This is like their little lake spot. But still, I mean, anybody that's owned out there has owned for 20, 30 years, and you know, they're passing it down to their kids. So you've got generation after generation out there anyway. But the room, you can feel the energy in the room, just like, I'm not doing that. Oh my goodness. So it really spurred me to wonder, I think what really brought it up to me, what really came to a head for me was, if people were like that about a community effort, okay, so we're talking about a community, a group of people, then I wondered, how are people doing that individually in their own life? What excuses are we making when we need to dig deep? When we need to dig deep to embrace who we are? What excuses do we make to keep us from that? Because obviously, you know that I've been a chaplain at Northwest Medical Center for a year now. And when I meet these people that are the older generation, 60 and 65 and above, actually, even 70 and above, you meet the farm women that were raised out in Huntsville and Marble and way, way out in the sticks. And I'm telling you what, those women, they would never make an excuse not to go get the eggs out of the hen house. They would never make an excuse not to go feed the bulls or cows or whatever in the world they may be. They did what they had to do to get the job done. Where did we lose our heart to be able to not do that in our own lives and yet do it in community? I think that's the thing that really makes me sad, because I recognize that digital and technology and evolution has so spurred our availability to embrace more of who we are. We get to share with the world on Facebook the beauty of our grandchildren and our families and our lives and even our moments of sadness, if you so choose. There's people listening, you know. There's people who are paying attention to say, I'll pray for you, or I'm sending you a hug, or I'm sending you love, or whatever it is. But even in that amazing community with Facebook that connects everything together in a second, here we are making excuses of why we can't step up to the plate and do what needs to be done. So we have the opportunity to ask ourselves, are we pushing our passion away? Are we pushing our passion away? Because when we really define our mission, our passion, whatever it is that you want to call it, your mission, your passion, it's in that defining moment that all of a sudden the colors of your world change. All of a sudden you have a purpose. All of a sudden, it's like that fire you can't put out. What is that thing in your life where there's a fire that you can't put out? Is it a longing for community? Is it a longing for playing bridge every Wednesday? It is a longing for going on a bike ride? Is it a longing for creating a newspaper? Whatever it is. You know, the evolutionary phase of our life, what is it? It allows us to declare, to look at it, first of all, in our awareness. It allows us to declare Independence Day in our own life. To get excited about something. To get excited about something. Brené Brown, in her book, 25 Gifts of Imperfection, says that owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing we will ever do. To look at that story of the condo deal, I know it sounds like nothing, but it affected my heart. It changed my view about community, generation, about what brings people together. But I didn't, when I first looked at it, I didn't like it, right? I didn't like that response. I assumed, because I have a big heart, I guess, and I get excited about doing things with people, that everybody else would too. So, I felt a little vulnerable being able to look at that, and everybody else's comment about that situation was, well, yeah, that's kind of how it goes. I'm not going for that. I don't believe in that. I don't. So in the same way that I don't agree with that, the human condition is about connecting. It's about heart-to-heart connection. It's about, I know that we say that we want a new house, a new car, some more money in the bank, and we want to go on vacation. It's not about that. Don't fool yourselves. It never has been. It's about that love. It's about that belonging. It's about that sense of community. It's about being able to sit with someone and drink a cup of coffee, honestly and authentically share and be and embrace who you are with others. That is what it's about. Can we sit and be authentic and real? So we do have the opportunity to we have the opportunities. We are the microcosm, and God is the macrocosm. We have the opportunity to do that, to change that trajectory of life, to say, when somebody calls and says, hey, I need you to pick up the bagels, or whatever it may be, that someone is going to be there for us. That sense of belonging, that sense of oneness, that sense of unity. It can only start with us. It starts right here where we're at. So we have an opportunity to embrace the idea of what truly nurtures ourselves, and then share it out in the world. And, I talked a little bit earlier about patterns in our lives. As we age, as we mature, as we spiritually mature, and we learn how to use these principles in our lives, things that we may have thought about doing when we were 25, we shied away from because maybe we had young kids or whatever the case may be, and now we're 35 or 45, and it's like, oh, I put this on hold for so long, I got to do it now, right? But there's a pattern that we do in our lives. Do we know the pattern? Because we go back to what Brené Brown said. Owning our story and loving ourselves through this process is the bravest thing that we will ever do. So it is in that self-awareness and that self-cultivation that we can look at our life and say, what is our personal pattern? Do I have relationships that last 5 to 6 years, or 5 to 6 dates, and that's all I get? Do I have a job that lasts 3 to 4 years and I change jobs what is it? What's the pattern? Because it's through that awareness that we can break the barrier and go beyond it. And sometimes there's things like that replaying itself within our lives, sometimes it's not. But most often, we're all humans. I think we can all admit we've got some kind of pattern, playing within our lives. So in this moment, we ask ourselves to embrace who we are. What is it within your life that wants to be born, expressed, and lived right now? What is it that wakes you up in the middle of the night? What is that one thing that your heart so longs for? So to do that, to go into that dance, to go into that joyful dance, knowing that as we embrace who we are, we're what? We're fully equipped. We cannot fail. We cultivate an idea, and then what do? We let go. We let go just like we're jumping off a cliff. We let go. And it's in that believing that Spirit is fully supplied every area of our life. It's in that believing that we can see how we can truly change ourselves, our lives, our families, and our communities. So it's in that moment, in this moment, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for just a minute and embrace who you are, authentically who you are. And just picture that, feel that. Feel that 110%, yes, I am that. Dancing with life, joyfully playing with life, doing all the things that makes your heart happy, with complete abandon, with complete silliness, joyfulness, and just letting it out, expressing, making your heart happy right here, right now, and not making any excuses but to do that very thing, but to make your heart happy. So just breathe that in, feel that. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so happy. Yes. You can open your eyes now. That yes is the same yes that brought you all here today. We are one. We are one. We are unified. We are enveloped in this interconnectedness of life. Something brought all of our hearts to show up in this room today. And it's not just to hear me quibble. Our hearts are connected. We have that whether or not we are in person physically or not, we have that connection. We call for our tribe, our community, our soul family. Because when we walk in the room, our hearts light up. Oh, look who's here, yay! It's Happy Sunday, that's what we do. And I don't know, I don't say that to boast, but I say that because this is the only place in my life that I get to do this at, honestly. Now, I do it in chaplaincy when I'm in the hospital, but my energy level is a bit much for the hospital, so I have to really tone it down. I have to really tone myself down, but this is a place where that's what I want to see you guys do. That's what I call forth in your life. Oh my God, I'm so excited. You know, whatever it is, to joyfully sit and have a bagel and have coffee. But this is the place that I get to unleash that love, that infinite indwelling presence, and give permission. As I do it, we give each other permission to do that same dance, that same joyful dance, to embrace who we are. I'm not a scholar, I'm not a speaker, I am a spiritual practitioner, but it's all by the heart. It's that authentic living by design, that divine design, that creative expression at God that just wants to expel through you. We talked about that. That's how Spirit works, through you. But it's interesting, so as we go about this dance, cultivating an idea, letting go, and believing is seeing, and we connect to that energy, we get to see beyond what the appearance of what's going on within our lives. You know, I may have stepped on the cat's tail when I walked out the door. I may have spilled the milk and not cleaned it up before I left the house. I may have threw all the covers off the bed. Whatever it is, it's the point that I'm seeing beyond of what the appearance of what is going on. And how do you do that? You don't do it with your mind. You do it with your heart. You know, maybe there was an unkind word said to a friend or in your last conversation, and whatever it may be. Your heart can see beyond that. Your mind will tell you, oh, that conversation's going to live on for the next 20 years in your mind, right? But your heart will say, oh, that's not the truth. That's not the truth. That's not what we're here for. We're here to just let go and be free and declare Independence Day, as we talked about last week, and we're talking about again this week, because our theme is experience. How do we experience this? We change our thinking, we change our thoughts. By changing our thoughts, that we can change our life. But it takes a visionary. We've got to jump off the cliff and say, okay, I'm doing it fearlessly. So our main job is to surrender to the idea and let our lives be a demonstration of God's love. That's all. Spirit, God, infinite wisdom, joy, be a demonstration of that love. So then the spilled milk doesn't matter. All the things that happened along the way, it's irrelevant. The only power in this moment, in this lifetime, is right here, right now. That's all you get. The past is gone forever. The only thing that brings the past into the future is what? We do it. We do it. So, of course, in spirituality, religion, whatever we want to call it, there's probably some forgiveness work to do, maybe to let go of the past. But the funny thing about that is most often it's about ourselves. The work is to do with ourselves. It's generally not about others. It's only about ourselves. So our main job is to surrender to the idea and be a demonstration of God's love. And that action, that's where the action comes in. Because we let go of all the silliness in our life, being who we think we're supposed to be. And when we embrace the truth of who we are, the action that is necessary will be demonstrated by the laws of the universe. And our job is to be the eyes in the hands of God, to be committed to the divine idea and to see it to its completion. To see it to its completion. I am convinced that when He has started a good work in you, He will continue until its completion. So back to William Penn. Never quit, never give up, and just keep on trucking. Keep on trucking. So I invite you guys to recognize the value of a shared commitment in a community, in a family, and to know that we are interconnected by the heart. And that golden thread, the one thing that we do in this community is that we build lifelong relationships with people. This is our soul family. This is what we're here to do. We are supposed to get up and dance, enjoy, and have fun, and have a blast, and do it without any cause of who's looking at us and how we're doing it. It is the joy that just overflows through our hearts. We did have an announcement last week that we're going to be looking for a new home for our community. We're going to be here until the end of December. But the end of December, we're going to look, way before then, we're going to start looking for a new place to call home. And we are asking for people, if you're interested in doing a visioning, being part of the visioning team, to let Cheryl or I know. We're going to do it by teleconference. Because I don't want my mind in this, and nobody else wants their mind in this. We want Spirit's divine idea to come through, to plant us where we're supposed to be planted, which is exactly what brought us here, and will continue to bring us forth into 2014 and on. But I'm going to close and talk about action for a minute. When a world of truth is spoken, with the conviction of its own power, it starts on its journey from the center of life, within us, out into the world, into manifestation. In pushing outward, it sends before it the thoughts, the attitudes that have been lodged in the mind and in the heart, and drives out the darkness that it may radiate the glory of the infinite. So all this willing and pushing and pulling, that's human. That's not the divine mind. So when we talk about action, we talk about digging deep, deliberate in our thoughts and behavior about prayer and meditation. There's the D. Inspired to make new and different choices. In going, take action. Don't just think about it. Don't just quibble about it. Take action. So dig, deliberate, inspired, going. We're deliberate in what we do. We're inspired in doing it because our heart says yes, and we take action. And then thus we embody and embrace the truth of who we are. And so it is.